Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me. This is Kathy, and I am super excited to share this card today. I recently stumbled across a new online store called Not Too Shabby, and they had a release of this super cute Halloween set. So I'm very excited to share this card with you. And I actually have 3 more Halloween cards using the same set. I'll have those videos up as soon as I possibly can. Anyway, I started out by stamping this little candy corn onto a piece of Nina Solar White cardstock. And I used my favorite things, Extreme Black Hybrid ink. Both the ink and the cardstock are alcohol marker friendly. And then I jumped right in with the coloring. I stamped the candy corn 3 times, but I'm only going to show the coloring of it 1 time because I did the exact same thing for all 3. So just to save a little bit of time, I'm only going to show coloring 1 of them. I started out with the candy corn on the very bottom with YR18 and added a little bit of that on either outer edge. I'm going for a center highlight on this cute little guy. So after I did the YR18, I came in with YR07 and added a little bit more of that and then blended it all together with YR04. For the yellow stripe, I used Y17 and did the same thing as I did for the orange colors. I did the darkest color out on either edge, kept a center highlight. The second color I used was Y15, and then I blended all of that together with Y08. For the white part, I did want to add a shadow because obviously the little witch hat would be casting a shadow across his forehead. I guess this candy corn does have a forehead because he's wearing a hat. And for the shading, I did C3 just underneath the hat and on that outer edge. And then I blended that out a little bit with C1 and blended it all together with C0. For his little cheeks, I just used R20. Moving on to his hat, I started with V17, which is my darkest color, and added some shading next to the sides of the little candy corn underneath the brim. For the top of the brim, I did some pretty dark shading on the left and right hand side, but I did leave a little bit of white space underneath that V17 so that I could have a really nice highlight. I also did some shading behind the buckle above the band and then on either side towards the top of the hat. Next, I brought in BV11 and blended out the V17 a little bit and finished it off with BV00. For the band on the hat, I started with G29 and literally just did a line on the very outer edges of the band and then on either side of the little buckle and on the inside by the buckle. Next, I brought in YG17 and again, tiny little line just to blend out the G29 a little bit, and then finished off with YG03. For the buckle, I just colored that in with Y08. Next, I started to work on my background, and this is a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock, and it's cut slightly larger than 3x6 because another super fun product that I came across are the new Slimline dies from Whimsy Stamps, and everything that I use will be linked down in the description below, and I'll be sure to list the colors of Copic markers that I used as well. Anyway, for the background, I used Distress Oxide inks in Mowed Lawn, Twisted Citron, and Squeezed Lemonade. And I did use my mini ink blending tool for this because I wanted to do a pretty heavy layer of ink on that background. So I kind of started getting into the tall, skinny cards when I was doing a bunch of ice cream cone cards, which if you haven't seen those videos, I'll link those up in the top right-hand corner. Anyway, after I was done with the blending, I spritzed my panel with some water and let it set for a minute, and then picked up the excess with a paper towel. I wanted to add some splatter, so I grabbed my Black Soot Distress ink and just splattered that with my paintbrush. And here is that Slimline die from Whimsy. I didn't want to have to cut the whole thing out of a piece of black paper, so I just used some scraps that I had in my stash, which that's a good way to use up some of those scraps. And I really like this particular Slimline die because it has a scalloped edge around the outer edge, and then it cuts out the scalloped ovals. But the scalloped ovals also cut out into pieces. So you can do some paper piecing and get different colors behind the scalloped ovals and different frames. So after I had run the die cut through with my inked panel, I adhered that to a piece of black cardstock that's 3 1/4 by 6 1/4. And I decided that I wanted to have some color behind the little candy corn, so I used the ovals from the inked panel, and then I just switched up the order of them, so the mowed lawn would be where the squeezed lemonade is, and etc., etc. I used liquid glue to adhere the black scallop frame, and I used liquid glue to adhere the ink blended ovals. After I was done adhering the scalloped oval frames and then the ink blended ovals, I adhered that panel to the front of a note card. It's kind of a lime green color. The cardstock is from my stash. And the finished card measures 6 1/2 by 3 1/2. Off camera, I did fussy cut the candy corn and added some foam tape to the back of each of them and then adhered them into place. I used a white gel pen to brighten up their eyes a little bit, and decided that I wanted to add a little bit more to the background around them. So I used the little star stamps that are also part of the Happy Halloween set, and then just randomly stamped them around the background using the My Favorite Things Extreme Black Hybrid ink. And then to add a little bit of sparkle to the buckle on the witch hats, I used a Stardust gel pen. And then to add a little bit more shimmer, I used my Wink of Stella glitter pen and went over all the stars. And that finishes up my card for today. I've got 3 more cards using this stamp set, so I'll be back really soon. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you've not yet subscribed, I'd love it if you would. And don't forget to ring the bell so you're notified every time a new video is posted. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.